Listen to this podcast now
on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform. There's never a dull moment here. New York's talk station. This is Talk Radio 77 WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noem Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noem
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 1st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds. Today we could see a shower, even a thunderstorm this afternoon. The high 76. Tonight and overnight rain, low 47. And then Thursday we drop back, cloudy, the high just 50. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 65 cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland. It's 64 and cloudy in Ridgewood over in New Jersey. And it's 65 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
This is the Top 5 at 5.
President Trump will talk to the nation tonight about the war in Iran. What was a White Plains man going to do with pipe bombs? We now know why a small-town New Jersey parade was canceled at the last minute. Some Passover Seder's guests were not happy to see the mayor at the dinner table. And can you really write off your cat on your taxes? All right, let's get into it at 5:01. It seems like every single day this week, for weeks on end, really, we've had a story of teenagers shooting each other, teenagers stabbing each other. And again, here we have it, this story up in the Bronx, a 16-year-old boy stabbed in the middle of the afternoon. This took place on East Tremont Avenue about 2:30. His name is Hugo Reyes. He says he and his girlfriend just walking home from school when a group approached him. He says he did not recognize the group. They started swinging a knife at him. It hit him in the back of the neck. He started running away.
Well, I don't even know their name. I don't know what school they go to. They probably don't even know me. What's in your head to go harm somebody that has not done nothing to you? Thank God I'm here today to talk to my mom, laugh and cheer up with my mom, talk to my siblings and stuff.
Yeah, he has stab wounds in the back of his neck. I mean, he was really lucky to be alive. Hugo says he ran as fast as he could with his girlfriend to get away from his group. He eventually did, and that's when he saw that he had been stabbed, taken to the hospital. His mom says she can't believe this happened, but just thrilled that he's going to be okay.
Please be aware of your surroundings. I could have been right now planning for a funeral for my son.
Yeah, police have not announced any arrests. They do have pretty good surveillance video of this crew that stabbed Hugo, but they have not caught up with them yet. This bribery scandal, can we call it a scandal yet? It seems to be blowing up. This including a city council member and her sister, who is a top aide to Governor Kathy Hochul. It's kind of in the weeds involved bribery scandal, if it is true. These are just accusations at this point, but it seems as though this is what prosecutors are saying, that city council member Farrah Lewis, a Brooklyn Democrat, and her sister Debbie Lewis and the husband of an assembly member and a former cop are all caught up in this alleged scandal where they took money in return for essentially favors.
I will tell you, however, any allegation and finding of improper behavior and action by a public servant is immensely concerning, and we will be following up on that.
All right, that's Mayor Mamdani talking about this yesterday. A spokesperson for Governor Hochul says Debbie Lewis was placed on leave last week after the governor became aware of the federal corruption probe. Farrah Lewis did not return any of our calls, emails to her, but voters in her district, well, they're split. Some say they're not surprised. Others say they are surprised that she might be caught up in the scandal.
Okay, I don't know anything about that. I'm very surprised. She don't look like that kind of person.
Would that surprise you? Do you have a reaction to it?
No.
No?
No, that's part of government.
Really? Bribery?
Yes.
Yes, so again, this is sort of a complicated story that I don't have time to get into. But essentially, they're accused of taking bribes in return for helping with a group that was setting up a homeless shelter. Mayor Zohran Mamdani getting mixed reviews after attending a pre-Passover Seder here in the city.
Mamdani, the city's first Muslim mayor and an outspoken critic of Israel, spoke Monday night at the city winery's annual pre-Passover Seder in downtown Manhattan. He spoke eloquently about the Jewish Exodus story, but was criticized by some for leaving out the part about the Jews' arrival in Israel after 400 years of slavery in Egypt. He was interrupted by a heckler at one point, but other Seder attendees praised Mamdani for denouncing the rising tide of anti-Semitism and for trying to heal tensions with the Jewish community. I'm Sarah Lee Kessler.
All right, we have a couple of polls, some that are good for the Democrats, others not so much. Governor Hochul's lead over her Republican challenger for governor in the fall, Bruce Blakeman, is shrinking. This according to a new Siena survey. Governor Hochul is leading Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman by 13 points, but that's down from 20 in February. Her lead much tighter in the upstate region. In the lower suburbs, it fell from 46 points to 29 points. So 52% of respondents approving of the job Hochul is doing. 64% say they've never heard of Bruce Blakeman, but he has time. It's only March, but that's good news for the Blakeman campaign. And over in New Jersey, Governor Mikey Sherrill's job approval rating is pretty strong. A few months into office, a new Fairleigh Dickinson University poll shows 58% approve of the job she's doing compared to 34% who do not. The poll also finds 42% of people involved in this survey want the Democratic governor to work with President Trump. 31% say they should defy him. 506. A $10 million sex assault suit against Rudy Giuliani apparently can continue.
A Manhattan judge made that ruling against the former mayor and Trump lawyer Monday. The 81-year-old is being sued by Giuliani's former director of business development. Noelle Dunphy says she worked for Giuliani from 2019 to 2021 and says he sexually assaulted her several times, usually after drinking. The 45-year-old also accuses him of battery, assault, sexual harassment, and creating a hostile work environment. And she says she has tapes of Giuliani making misogynistic and degrading comments towards her. Giuliani claims she never worked for him and that they had a romantic fling. In New York, I'm Andrew Whitman.
WABC News Time 508. President Trump says the war in Iran could end in 2 to 3 weeks.
We've had regime change. We're dealing with people that are much more rational.
The president says Iran has decimated and can no longer threaten the U.S. He says Iran has been decimated and can no longer threaten the U.S. with the promise of a nuclear weapon. He says whether or not the U.S. has a deal with Iran by April 6th, which is that deadline he gave them, is irrelevant, he says.
I said to the American people, it's time that we have making a little detour because we have a madman that wants a nuclear weapon. And if we didn't knock him out with a B-2 bomber, we would have a nuclear weapon right now. It would have been used before today.
Now, that deadline of April 6th was given to Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3. We're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities.
And the president has a message for the allies who have not supported the U.S. military operation in Iran, making these comments on social media yesterday. Here's correspondent Tony Waterman.
President Trump told countries running out of jet fuel to either buy it from the U.S. or to, quote, build up some delayed courage and go take it from Iran. He also said countries will have to start learning how to fight for themselves because the U.S. won't be there to help anymore.
President going to talk about the war in Iran to an address to the nation at 9 o'clock tonight. Meanwhile, we are hearing from some of the members of the Pentagon. U.S. military operations in Iran now in their second month. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says everything's going on track so far.
The upcoming days will be decisive. Iran knows that. And there's almost nothing they can militarily do about it. Yes, they will still shoot some missiles, but we will shoot them down. Of note, the last 24 hours saw the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones fired by Iran.
Hegseth briefing reporters yesterday at the Pentagon alongside Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Dan Kane. He says morale of Iran's military has cratered, leading to reported desertions, frustrations among top leaders. Here's the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Dan Kane, saying that they've done pretty good job in Iran.
We continue to prosecute our campaign against our defense industrial base at scale. This includes factories, warehouses, nuclear weapons research and development labs, and the associated infrastructure required for Iran to reconstitute its combat capability.
And the U.S.'s partner in this campaign in Iran, Israel, calling for all essential and critical targets in Iran to be destroyed before Passover. Now, Passover begins tonight at sundown.
The annual 8-day Jewish festival begins Wednesday night. On Tuesday, the IDF claimed that all critical targets that immediately threatened Israel, such as ballistic missile sites and nuclear-related targets, will have been destroyed by the start of Passover. The IDF claims it will also destroy all of Iran's essential targets, such as satellite platforms. Israel's military says it has already destroyed about 60% of its targets in the Islamic Republic. I'm Mark Mayfield.
5/11, Americans could see more than just gas prices go up as a result of the war in Iran.
I believe the next sort of place where U.S. consumers are going to see increased prices will be within the food supply chain.
That's Erin McLaughlin, the senior chief economist with the Conference Board and nonprofit business research group. She says with diesel prices also surging, that could have a trickle-down effect on the price of groceries, other consumer goods.
The Strait of Hormuz is actually a really important source of fertilizer and also things like petrochemicals that make plastic. The cost of diesel, the cost of any transportation fuel that goes into our supply chain and moves goods to us or moves jets around is going to find its way to consumers. We might see consumers start to trade down, and that's where we might potentially have some recessionary type implications.
No doubt, if you pulled up to the pump, you see how much gas is. About $4 on average across the country. More from Nick Harper.
The price at the pump has risen more than 30% since the start of the conflict with Iran just over a month ago. Prices are now at their highest levels since August 2022, when the Ukraine war disrupted energy markets, pushing up prices.
AAA reporting this morning the average national price for a gallon of regular gas is now just a little over $4. White House border czar Tom Homan says there's no way ICE agents are going to take off their masks.
Right now they're demanding mask off. That's a non-starter. We're not even talking about it.
He made those comments at the CPAC conference in Dallas. Homan says agents and their families are being threatened and have been subjected to online doxing, so those masks are not going away.
Threats are up 8,000%. That's why they're wearing a mask.
White House has agreed to Democrats' demands that ICE agents use body cams, but have refused the removal of masks as the funding fight over the Department of Homeland Security drags on. 514 airport wait times dropping yesterday as TSA employees have started receiving that back pay. Correspondent Priscilla Thompson reports it follows weeks of agents working without pay as the partial government shutdown does continue.
Airports across the country, from Atlanta to D.C. and New York, seeing shrinking security lines. Houston's George Bush Intercontinental Airport, the epicenter of misery during the partial government shutdown, going from 4-hour waits last week to mere minutes now.
Mike Gazagian, he's the president of the union that represents TSA officers, and he says the situation for these TSA agents is so totally unfair that they're at the will of these people in Congress who turn on or turn off their pay.
All we want is to be treated fairly and not to be part of a political process that's going to turn us into pawns.
Can you imagine going 3 times over the last year with no pay for a period of time? It's no wonder so many have walked off the job. This traveler in Houston's was just delighted to find a security line yesterday with just minutes long.
I came here like 8 hours before, and I came here, I didn't see anybody else.
8 hours before. Okay, that's a little crazy. All right, in a moment, we'll tell you how Now, President Trump has signed an executive order on voting, mail-in voting. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, Justin Ellick.
Happy Wednesday. Good morning to you, Noem Laden. Start out here in Seattle. Max Fried permitted only 3 singles in 7 sparkling innings. Giancarlo Stanton drove in 2 runs of the Yankees, beat the Mariners 5-0. Fried was brilliant in winning his career-high 8th straight regular season start dating back to August of last season. The left-hander has not given up a run in 13 1/3 innings this season. Up next for the Yankees, the finale and rubber game of this 3-game set this afternoon, 4:10 p.m. from Seattle. The righty Cam Schlittler will get the start for New York. It'll be the first Yankees game I'm allowed to watch in the last couple of days, which I'm looking forward to. Out in St. Louis, the Mets got shut out 3-0 by the Cardinals. Kodai Senga allowed 2 runs and 4 hits over 6 innings in an encouraging outing for New York. He struck out 9, including the side in the 2nd and the 6th. He walked 3. Up next for the Mets, the finale and rubber game of their 3-game set this afternoon at 1:15 p.m. from St. Louis. Freddie Peralta will get the start there. Let's head to the hardwood in Houston. Knicks lost 111-94 to the Rockets. Karl Anthony Towns had 22 points and 8 rebounds for the Knicks, who lost a 3rd consecutive game after winning their previous 7. Each of their 3 losses have been by double digits. Up next,
what's going on with them?
I don't really know. They don't look good the last 3 games, but again, they went into this slide, winning 7 straight, and have clinched a playoff spot, so they're in. But you definitely don't want to be losing consecutive games like this down the stretch heading into the playoffs. Got to get it right before you head into the postseason, obviously. Up next for them, we'll see if they can get it right. They'll be in Memphis tonight against the Grizzlies at 8 p.m. Now in Brooklyn, Nets lost basically as they do every night. Lost to the Hornets last night, 117-86. On the ice in Buffalo, Islanders lost 4-3 to the Sabres, and at the Garden, Rangers beat up on the Devils 4-1. And an update on this Tiger Woods story coming out of the golf world. He said yesterday that he's, quote, stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on his health, announcing the decision 4 days after he was arrested, of course, on suspicion of DUI and refusal to submit to a lawful test stemming from a rollover crash in Florida. His statement came hours after he entered a plea of not guilty to charges of misdemeanor DUI with property damage and refusal to submit that lawful test, according to court documents. Due to multiple injuries, the 50-year-old Woods last competed on the PGA Tour in July of 2024 when he missed the cut at the Open Championship. And while he hadn't committed to playing, he had been working to return to competition at next week's Masters at Augusta National Golf Club, where he's won 5 times. Even if he didn't play, he was going to show up for, obviously, the Champions Dinner. And then he played a big role in the opening of this municipal golf course in Augusta, Georgia. That'll look a lot like Augusta National, although it'll be open to the public. And I believe he designed the short course there. So he was going to be out in Augusta next week opening that golf course as well. Obviously, he will not be in attendance for any of the festivities coming up next week. And it's
sad, right? I mean, what did they found oxycodone or something like that in his pocket.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a prescription pill, but it's so addictive. I mean, we just hear story after story. It's sad.
I mean, if you listen, you go through the timeline of injuries he's had and how long he's been sidelined from the game of golf and how long he's had to take recovering from these injuries. And, it does suggest that he spent a lot of time ingesting this kind of medication.
Yeah, they're so addictive.
Yeah,
I mean,
they really are.
You just hear about it. It's just endless stories.
They really are. They really are. So he's going to go get the help that he very clearly needs, and we'll be waiting for Tiger Woods whenever he's ready to come back into the public eye. That is your Sports Noem, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 520. President Trump signing an executive order yesterday to place eligibility restrictions on mail-in voting. He claims cheating on mail-in voting is legendary.
I think this will help a lot with elections. We'd like to have voter ID. We'd like to have proof of citizenship, and that'll be another subject for another time.
The order will require the Secretary of Homeland Security to create a list of verified U.S. citizens who are eligible to vote in each state. The order instructs the Postal Service to only send absentee ballots to voters on each state's approved mail-in ballot list.
The cheating on mail-in voting is legendary. It's horrible what's gone on.
Ballots will now have specific secure envelopes with unique barcodes for tracking. Supreme Court has ruled in favor of a Colorado Christian counselor who offers conversion therapy services for LGBTQ kids. Counselor Kaylee Childs challenged a state law banning so-called conversion therapy for kids.
The law I'm challenging harms kids and silences speech. Kids deserve real help, affirming that their bodies are not a mistake and that they are wonderfully made.
The justices ruled, though, 8-1. The First Amendment holds the state can't prevent counselors from speaking freely on questions of gender in therapy sessions. The court ruled 8-1 in favor of child's free speech rights in therapy sessions with those minors.
I'm grateful that my speech is protected, but I'm even more excited that families and children seeking access to counseling that respects biological reality will be able to get the help that they need. This ruling means Colorado cannot insert itself into the counseling room and silence important views that clients want to hear. Colorado's law hurts kids struggling with their gender most of all.
And the Supreme Court heard arguments yesterday in the case of an African-American man on Mississippi's death row who contends he was sentenced to death in violation of the Constitution's ban on racial discrimination in jury selection. The attorney representing Terry Pitchford here.
The trial court's unrectified failings in this prosecution, also riddled with other misconduct, yielded a jury selected with discriminatory taint, which in turn condemned an 18-year-old whose accomplice, according to the state's case, killed the shopkeeper in this botched robbery.
Pitchford was sentenced to death for his role in the 2006 murder of a grocery store owner. Pitchford's friend actually pulled the trigger, but was not eligible for the death penalty because he was under 18 at the time. So the DA in the case eliminated all but one black juror in Pitchford's trial, a ruling from the high court expected sometime this summer. And President Trump says he plans to attend today's Supreme Court hearing over birthright citizenship because he says the issue is so important to him.
It is the craziest thing I've ever seen. It's been so badly handled by legal people over the years.
The president signed an executive order on his first day back in office to end birthright citizenship for children born to parents in the U.S. illegally or temporarily.
The reason was it had to do with the babies of slaves and the protection of the babies of slaves. It didn't have to do with the protection of multi-millionaires and billionaires wanting to have their children get an American citizenship.
Opponents to the president's plan have argued that goes against the Constitution's 14th Amendment. WABC News Time 524, while we're talking about the president, he said he was unaware of the alleged cross-dressing photos involving Kristi Noem's husband.
The Daily Mail on Tuesday published photos that appear to show Byron Noem wearing large fake breasts in private messages sent between him and 3 women. Following the report, the former DHS secretary said she and her family were devastated over the accusations and needed privacy at this time. Trump was asked about it and said, "I feel badly for the family if that's the case," but insisted he really didn't know anything about it. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Yeah, I mean, how would he know anything about it? 524, a Texas high school teacher who was shot by a student in her classroom on Monday, thankfully continuing to recover in the hospital.
Our thoughts and prayers and concerns remain with our teacher in the hospital and her family as she recovers.
But there are growing concerns about security at the school, the Hill Country College Prep High. The sheriff in the county confirms that there was not a police officer on campus on Monday. Texas law requires all school districts to have at least one armed security officer during school hours.
This community rallies around you, and we will be here to support you.
Yeah, the 15-year-old student who shot the teacher, he turned the gun on himself and took his own life on Monday. 525, today's a big day for NASA. Here's a look at the 4-person crew of Artemis 2 that's going to circle the moon if they blast off tonight from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. The mission commander is Reed Wiseman. He's a veteran NASA astronaut, former Navy test pilot. He's from Baltimore, Maryland. He previously led the International Space Station.
The 4 of us, we are ready to go. The team is ready to go, and the vehicle is ready to go.
Pilot Victor Glover is an aviator from Pomona, California, and a Space Crew Veteran 1 veteran. Mission Specialist Christina Cook is a native of Grand Rapids, Michigan, holds the record for the longest space flight by a woman. And fellow Mission Specialist Jeremy Hansen is a Royal Canadian Air Force colonel who's set to make history as the first Canadian to fly around the moon.
One day we don't have to talk about these first. That one day this is just
and I listen to this, that this is the human history. It's about human history. It's the story of humanity, not black history, not women's history, but that it becomes human history.
It is our strong hope that this mission is the start of an era where every person on Earth can look at the moon and think of it as also a destination.
NASA says the weather forecast is 80% go as of now for tonight's Artemis 2 launch.
The isolated showers are wandering around, but again, a lot of real estate between those showers in all likelihood. So again, we should be able to find some clear air to launch Artemis 2.
Yeah, so that's the launch weather officer who knew there was such a thing. At a briefing yesterday, he says conditions for the launch continue to be favorable.
Still maintaining a 20% chance of a no-go condition during the launch window. So the optimistic side of me says that means 80% chance of go here.
Yeah, there's a 2-hour launch window that opens at 6:24 tonight. Now, once this mission is done, the next one they'd be working for is landing back on the moon, which is awfully cool.
There's never a dull moment here. New York's talk station. This is Talk Radio 77 WABC. It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Talking the news with Noem Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noem
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, April 1st. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Mix of sun and clouds today. Could see a shower this afternoon. High 76. Tonight and overnight, rain, low 47, and then Thursday gets colder, cloudy, the high just 50. If you're walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 65 cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County, 64 and cloudy in Ridgewood over in New Jersey, and it's 65 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 541. Let's head up to White Plains in a story we told you about earlier this week where there was an explosion. Then police wouldn't tell us if it was a firebomb, a pipe bomb that was found, and now we're finding out. A White Plains man facing several charges, including the use of a weapon of mass destruction. His name is Raymond Elders. He's been remanded to the custody of U.S. Marshals. He made a court appearance yesterday in White Plains. Prosecutors say they found a pipe bomb outside an apartment building on Monday. They also allege Elders was later seen with bluish and black residue on his hands and with a lighter. Now, neighbors heard an explosion early Monday and were wondering if this was all connected.
We thought it was just fireworks. It really rocked a lot of the buildings around here.
The prosecution says dozens of additional pipe bombs were found inside the apartment Elders was staying in. The defense argued that Elders had a history of mental illness and issues with alcohol and that he's seeking help. However, the judge said how lucky everyone is that nobody was hurt.
It is kind of scary, especially with the bomb squad here. With everything that's going on in the world right now, all these wars and everything, you never know.
Yeah.
So safety is more important for me and my wife.
Now the question is, what was he going to do with those pipe bombs? We haven't heard yet. The prosecution calling Elders' alleged actions the height of recklessness. He's due back in court on April 29th. And a somewhat similar story out. This is on St. James out on Long Island. A man there accused of selling illegal guns to an undercover cop. Police say Brian Bennett built and sold a dozen untraceable guns to an undercover cop on 3 separate occasions between March of 2024 and this year. The firearms were sold in exchange for about $12,000. Search warrants executed at 2 homes used by Bennett resulted in investigators recovering 10 assault weapons, high-capacity ammunition magazines, a 3D printer, and other stuff. His neighbors, as you might guess, just a little freaked out to hear this was right in the neighborhood.
But to make them, and it's local, that's just horrible. You shouldn't be making unmarked guns and selling them into the community.
Yeah.
It's basically terrorism.
Bennett ordered held on $1 million cash. He faces up to 25 years years behind bars if he's convicted. He's due back in court on May 11th. And now we're finding out about what took place at the St. Patrick's Day parade in Keansburg over the weekend. At the last moment, it was suddenly canceled, and we had told there was some sort of terror threat. Now we're hearing from the Keansburg mayor. His name is George Hoff. This parade, which is a pretty big one down in Keansburg that takes place every year, they said they found some sort of suspicious package on the parade route. And this was about 30 minutes before the parade was about to step off. So they canceled the whole thing.
People come from all over the place to, see the parade. Who would have thought that in a small town of Keansburg that something like this would have happened?
Yeah. So the mayor there, Mayor Hoff, wouldn't comment on the device itself because the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office is in charge of the investigation. All the office would say is the investigation is active and ongoing. Here's the mayor talking about what took place over the weekend.
Our police chief advised us that a suspicious package had been found in this area. So out of precaution and out of safety for everyone, we had to cancel the parade.
Yeah, so we saw, people just showing up for this parade. It was on as it was 1 o'clock on Saturday, but then the last second they called it off. So now the question is, what's going to happen with the next parade in town, which is the Memorial Day parade? Well, the mayor doesn't know because is that if they don't figure out who's behind this object that was left along the parade right, let's see, get the words right, the parade route, then they may not hold another parade.
It all depends on how we go forward, how the investigation goes, if they're able to determine who did this, the motive behind it. It's a wake-up call for not only us, but for other towns moving forward with this to be vigilant.
Yeah, it was a big deal down there over the weekend. In a moment, we'll tell you how those sheds are coming back to city streets. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 546, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. And here's Justin Alley.
Thank you, Noam Layden. Start here in Seattle. Max Fried was brilliant once again, permitting only 3 singles and 7 sparkling innings. Giancarlo Stanton drove in 2 runs, and the Yankees beat the Mariners 5-0. Fried was brilliant, winning his career-high 8th straight regular season start dating back to August 27th of last season. The left-hander has not given up a run in 13 1/3 innings this season. Up next for the Yankees, the finale and rubber game of this 3-game set this afternoon, 4:10 p.m. from Seattle. The ready Cam Schlittler will get the start for New York. In St. Louis, the Mets got shut out 3-0 by the Cardinals. Kodai Senga allowed 2 runs and 4 hits over 6 innings in an encouraging outing for New York. Senga struck out 9, including the side in the 2nd and the 6th. He walked 3. Up next for the Mets, the finale and rubber game of their 3-game set this afternoon, 1:15 p.m. from St. Louis. Freddie Peralta will get the start there. Head to the hardwood in Houston. The Knicks lost 111-94 to the Rockets. Karl Anthony Towns had 22 points and 8 rebounds for the Knicks, who lost a 3rd consecutive game after winning their previous 7. Each of their 3 losses have been by double digits. Will try and get back on track tonight in Memphis against the Grizzlies. That's an 8 p.m. start there. Not in Brooklyn. The Nets, they fell to the Hornets 117-86. On the ice in Buffalo, the Islanders lost 4-3 to the Sabres, and at the Garden, the Rangers beat up on the Devils 4-1. And an update on the Tiger Woods situation in the golf world. The 15-time major winner said yesterday that he's, quote, stepping away for a period of time to seek treatment and focus on his health, announcing the decision 4 days after he was arrested on suspicion of DUI and refusal to submit to a lawful test stemming from a rollover crash in Florida. Woods' statement came hours after he entered a plea of not guilty to charges of misdemeanor DUI with property damage and refusal to submit that lawful test. Due to multiple injuries, the 50-year-old last competed on the PGA Tour in July of 2024 when he missed a cut at the Open Championship. And while he hadn't committed to playing, he had been working to return to competition at next week's Masters at Augusta National Golf Club, where he's won 5 times. Obviously, you will not be seeing the great Tiger Woods there this year. That is your Sports Noam, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 550. Cops asking for help after a carjacking here in Manhattan.
It happened around 1:30 in the morning on Monday the 23rd on 2nd Avenue in the East Village. 4 people approached a man in his car and asked for a ride. When the driver said no, one of them pulled out a gun and forced the driver out. The group took the car and later ditched it in Newark. The driver was not hurt. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. In New York, I'm Andrew Whitman.
Get ready to see hundreds of sheds pop up along city streets. The start of outdoor dining season. It begins today at Bartusi's in the Village. They say every little bit counts towards the mom and pop's bottom line. And they say this shed, the outdoor dining, is a huge deal. It's big money for them.
We finally made it. The light is there, yeah. For us, it doubles our footprint. We have an extra 40 seats outside versus the 40 seats inside. So it makes a significant impact on our business model.
Now, not every restaurant's going to take part that has in the past. Il Violino, which is on the Upper West Side, they say it's just too hard to put this all together, to put the shed up, take it down, all too costly for them.
The cost is very expensive. The measure that they give us is starting from the second car all the way down to where the parking space is. So that's the part that we have to build. So it's kind of far away from the restaurant. And I'm pretty sure the city is going to be very strict this year with the measures, with everything they ask for to do it.
Yeah, she points to thousands of dollars for licensing fees and storage costs for those sheds. She just said, in the end, it's not worth it. And she says the neighbors don't always love it either. They don't like the fact that you're taking up a parking space or two.
It's been an ongoing give and take for what's allowed by both the city as well as what's allowed by our community board. Everyone's like, oh, I need to be able to walk my dog. Like there's all the things that people get upset about.
Yeah, people were really excited about this. Of course, it all began during COVID, but outdoor dining has been a big hit for the most part, no matter where you go across the city. 5:52, Mayor Mamdani announcing a $108 million program to replace all of the city's catch basins. This is sorely needed. The city has more than 150,000 catch basins. 6,700 of those storm drains will be replaced or upgraded over the next decade.
Our sewage system was built for the rainfall that was anticipated about, more than a century ago. And as we know, that rainfall now is of a very different scale.
Yeah, we've seen it. The flooding has increased dramatically over the last 4 years even. DEP Commissioner says the goal was to build a more resilient, reliable, and climate-ready city.
We're committed to building a more resilient, reliable, and climate-ready city.
I think I just said that.
When city government can show that when it rains in the city, it doesn't have to flood, it also shows New Yorkers that we can dream of a tomorrow that is better than today.
Work will begin in July with the worst drains prioritized first. 5:53, a Brooklyn man being indicted after a ghost gun trafficking operation was busted up on Staten Island. Staten Island DA says they recovered a large cache of weapons as well as gun parts and modification devices that were created with a 3D printer and have no serial numbers.
Untraceable and highly dangerous, the sole purpose of these weapons is to evade law enforcement and bypass gun safety laws and regulations.
Staten Island DA Michael McMahon there. Authorities believe the defendant, who's charged with 73 counts, including criminal sale of a firearm in the first degree, single-handedly sold these illegal weapons on his own.
A brazen, gun-toting defendant, Strike is alleged to have sold at least 8 ghost guns, in addition to over a dozen switches capable of transforming handguns into functional machine guns for profit.
Yeah, he was nabbed after cops received a tip, bought 6 of the weapons. The weapons are believed to be linked to at least 6 shootings in Jersey City. 5:54, New York City is bringing more electric vehicle charging stations online. The DOT opening a new fast charging station at the DOT's municipal parking lot in downtown Flushing yesterday.
We need to make going electric easy, and that starts with fast, affordable charging in every part of the city. More than 79,000 EVs are registered in New York City, but there isn't equitable access to charging. Many pockets of the city lack affordable fast charging, so we're stepping up to meet this moment.
Yeah, so officials say that new Flushing charging station expands access to affordable public electric vehicle charging in Queens and will support the city's transition from gas-powered cars to electric ones. Billy Joel's 100th performance at Madison Square Garden set to be released on DVD now.
Time. Whoa.
The 100th, live at Madison Square Garden, the complete concert captures the 100th consecutive performance of the singer's MSG residency, which happened on March the 28th in 2024. The physical release includes The Longest Time, Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic with Sting, Half a Mile Away, among other songs. The 100th, live at Madison Square Garden, the complete concert will be out May the 29th. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Man, it's expensive to own a dog or a cat these days. A bill being worked on by the New York State Assembly would create a tax credit for the money spent on pets. Owners would be able to get a credit for up to 2 animals. For each one, can get tax credits up to $150 on everyday expenses like food, leashes, grooming supplies, other items that are deemed essential for taking care of a pet. The credit also includes up to $300 for a veterinarian costs like annual exams. Now, it won't be this year, but it could be for next year.
I'm sure it'd be wonderful. Hey, if any expenses we can write off, the better off we are.
Yeah.
It'd be nice. Exactly. Pet owners should get some kind of compensation.
If I could only tell you how much my wife spends on the dog, it's more than she spends on the kids. Long Island Care's Baxter Pet Pantry. They say that Long Islanders spend between $150 to $300 a month just for pet food, and it's about $4,300. They figure $4,300 a year to own a pet. So she said this would be a big deal.
That includes pet food, supplies, grooming, vet visits, medications, and the list goes on.
Yeah, the bill still in the works, but tax credits for pets would apply to expenses paid this year in 2026.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noem Layden. You can hear the News Hour with Noem Layden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here? Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Why is the middle class shrinking? Why are people facing an affordability crisis while marginalized individuals called informals grow in numbers? Join me as I travel the world, speaking with people living in invisibility, the leaders working to solve it, and uncovering the hard truths shaping our economy and daily reality.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.